It's pretty bad.
That's a different question. But I just want to just state for the record that what did happen in 1992 was so different from what we're seeing now. I mean, that was a real riot that went all across the city of Los Angeles after a verdict in the Rodney King case. This is a situation where the
a real riot.
LA County Police,
Dana,
it's not good, but they're saying that they have it under control, and the president is sending national troops,
Dana,
federal troops, in a way that
we can look at
hasn't
this
been
and
done
we
in
can
a long
obviously
time.
see that it is not under control. It's not under control. You and I both can see that. It's not under control. And a riot is a riot. They're throwing all types of objects at law enforcement, and the president is absolutely right. It's pretty bad.
That's a different question. But
well, let's decide for ourselves if this is a riot or not. So we're going to play some news reports of what's going on in Los Angeles with these anti-ICE riots that have developed. President Trump has called in the National Guard. So let's check it out. Also, Gavin Newsom has called for Tom Homan to come arrest him.
To control protests over immigration enforcement are underway in Los Angeles. In fact, the National Guard troops and mounted police fired tear gas at protesters. And these were people gathered outside an ICE detention facility. Now, there are reports of looting and several burning cars, as you just saw on your screen. LAPD declared the protest an unlawful assembly. The department says fireworks and cinder block pieces struck officers, and roughly 300 National Guard members are in the city. That's because President Donald Trump ordered the deployment of 2,000 troops. And this morning, we're learning Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has more than 500 active duty Marines on standby to intervene. California's governor and...
So is that not a real riot to you with these fires going on and all this craziness?
LA's mayor opposed the deployment order. They blame the Trump administration for escalating tensions.
And what we're seeing in Los Angeles is chaos that is provoked by the administration. When you raid Home Depot and workplaces, when you tear parents and children apart, and when you run armored caravans through our streets, you cause fear and you cause panic.
Now, at last check, 56 total arrests have been made.
Overnight, police in riot gear facing off with anti-ICE protesters in downtown LA, now declared an unlawful assembly area. Multiple people arrested as tensions flared. The clashes escalating over the weekend after first erupting Friday following workplace raids by federal agents at multiple locations across LA. On Saturday, President Trump invoking a rarely used law to call up the National Guard, defying California's governor, who argued it would only inflame protesters who took over a major interstate Sunday, bringing traffic to a standstill.
We're here on 101 right now. Protesters have shut down the freeway. You can see flashlights have been going off. Police are closing in. Protesters are running southbound. Let's go.
Police dispersing the crowd with tear gas and rubber bullets. Police cars set on fire, and the LAPD chief saying officers were targeted overnight.
Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you.
Protesters setting multiple Waymo self-driving cars on fire, the company pausing operations in downtown LA. Demonstrators voicing their anger over ICE's presence in the city.
We're not the problem. You know, immigrants aren't the problem, we're the solution.
What do you think about the National Guard being brought in?
I think that it's ridiculous, because where was the National Guard on January 6th?
I cannot deal with these people. I cannot deal with these people. Didn't Nancy Pelosi block President Trump from calling up the National Guard? They always resort back to January 6th for everything.
On Truth Social, the president calling the protesters troublemakers and insurrectionists.
We're going to have troops everywhere.
And adding overnight, bring in the troops. The LAPD chief asked about the National Guard, saying he would have thought local authorities could handle it, but...
Looking at the violence tonight, I think we got to make a reassessment.
Border czar Tom Homan telling our Jacob Soboroff the raids will continue in the coming days and that officials who stand in the way of law enforcement operations could be arrested.
Are you saying that about Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom? Are they at risk of being arrested?
I'll say it about anybody. You cross that line.
Governor Newsom firing back.
Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. They're trying to incite violence. They're trying to impose the kind of rhetoric that only makes the conditions worse, that quite literally put people's lives at risk.
As violent unrest in downtown.
Tough guy, huh? It seems like Gavin Newsom is the one who's trying to act like a tough guy. These people are the ones who are inciting this. They're fanning the flames because they're not condemning it at all.
Downtown Los Angeles spills into a fourth day. President Trump is defending his decision to deploy National Guard troops there against the wishes of California's governor.
We're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart.
The protests began in response to ongoing immigration raids. Federal agents arresting about 150 migrants around L.A.
Military violence.
Protests, which started peacefully, turned violent, with demonstrators burning cars and throwing bottles and chunks of concrete at police.
These kids on the car, the folks that are taking advantage of this, these aren't peaceful protesters, a lot of these folks.
California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom blaming President Trump for inflaming a tense situation. It's the first time a president has activated a state's National Guard force without a request from the state's governor since the civil rights era.
Donald Trump has created the conditions you see on your TV tonight. He's exacerbated the conditions.
In D.C., lawmakers divided.
My concern, of course, is that this inflames the situation and that he is hell-bent on inflaming the situations.
One of our core principles is maintaining peace through strength. We do that on foreign affairs and domestic affairs as well. I don't think that's heavy-handed.
Meanwhile, the administration is threatening to arrest any state and local officials who interfere with immigration enforcement.
Stand in the way of law and order, yeah, they will face charges.
A political standoff still simmering as the situation on the ground boils over. The president activated a total of 2,000 National Guard troops in California. About 300 are on the streets of Los Angeles right now. And Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said active duty Marines are ready to deploy to California if the White House deems it necessary.
And it may be necessary. All right, so here's Tom Homan's response to this, to Gavin Newsom.
Flag, setting cars on fire and throwing rocks at the police to protest the arrest of illegal migrants, including child abuse and murder suspects. But California Democrats like Kamala Harris, Mayor Karen Bass, and Governor Newsom are blaming the Trump administration for the chaos. Border czar Tom Homan joins us now. So, Tom, you've been leading these operations. And so instead of criticizing the people that are attacking our agents, you got Gavin Newsom, who has called for you to arrest him, and you got Maxine Waters, who is going after the National Guard. Watch this.
He's a tough guy. Why doesn't he do that? He knows where to find me. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy.
Nobody's scared of you, Gavin Newsom.
You know, I don't give a damn, but I care about my community. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me.
What are you going to do? You going to shoot some kid? He's afraid of getting run? You going to shoot an elected official? If you shoot me, you better shoot straight. I don't know why you're in my city. You did. The governor was not contacted.
Tom, what's your response?
Well, first of all, it's just ridiculous. That reporter from SMBC, he's a joke. He's a dishonest reporter. What we discussed was, for those protesters that cross the line, I've said it many times, you can protest, you get your First Amendment rights. But when you cross that line, you put hands on an ICE officer, or you destroy property, or I say that you're impede law enforcement, or you're knowingly harboring concealing illegal alien, that's a crime. And the Trump administration is not going to tolerate it. You cross that line, we're going to seek prosecution in the Department of Justice. Then the reporter asked me, well, could Governor Newsom or Mayor Bass be arrested? I said, well, no one's above the law. If they cross the line and commit a crime, absolutely they can. So there was no discussion about arresting Newsom. And so, you know, what he's done, he's failed that state. He waited 2 days of that city burning and people getting hurt, officers being assaulted, before he made any declaration of an unlawful assembly. He's late to the game. President Trump isn't late to the game. Men and women of ICE are not late to the game. And let's make this clear. I keep hearing this term ICE raids, ICE raids. What happened with how this riot started is that ICE was serving a series of criminal warrants at a business being investigated for money laundering, customs fraud, and serious violations on sending money to criminal cartels that in Colombia and Mexico that fund cartel activities in the United States. It's a part of an overall conspiracy that ICE is investigating. So we're arresting bad people. We were enforcing laws and following up on a serious criminal investigation on cartel financing. So that's exactly what ICE did. And ICE took a lot of bad people off the street that day. We arrested a sexual predator, arrested gang members, arrested somebody that had an armed robbery conviction. So we made LA safer. The men and women at ICE, the men and women at the Border Patrol made LA safer that day. But you're not hearing any of this. All you hear is a rhetoric about ICE being racist, about ICE being Nazis and terrorists. And Governor Newsom feeds that. Just like Hakeem Jeffrey feeds it, that he's going to unmask ICE agents. And the members of Congress who keep feeding this rhetoric, they're the ones that are causing this riot because they don't listen to the truth about what the men and women at ICE are doing. We're keeping our promise to American people to make these streets safe again. And that's exactly what we're going to do, and we're not going to stop doing it.
Tom, who gave the stand down order from the LAPD? When you're a federal...
Yeah, I mean, they went in and arrested bad guys. They're arresting people who were doing criminal activity within businesses. And these are what they're protesting about. This is what they're rioting for. I think it's much bigger than this. I think they just want chaos across the country, but that's just my opinion. So here's another news report on these protests.
Breaking news this morning as officers and troops work to put an end to violent riots breaking out across Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jan Jeffcoat. It's Monday, June 9th, and those riots began Friday night and quickly turned violent as activists tried to prevent law enforcement from removing criminal aliens from the country. President Trump has been monitoring the chaos. After midnight, he did write on Truth Social, arrest the people in face masks now. Mark Boyle starts off our coverage at the live desk with the very latest.
Tracking right now the developing news out of Los Angeles, the police department declaring all of downtown an unlawful assembly. So what that means is anybody that's there in that area could be arrested at any moment by police. And all this follows a days of violent protests that turned into riots against local and federal law enforcement in response to the immigration raids that were conducted in LA Friday. The city's police chief strongly condemning the escalating violence. He spoke out during a news conference overnight.
Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you. We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing.
President Trump's had enough. He shared this message on Truth Social saying, bring in the troops. Meantime, 500 Marines on alert this morning, prepared to deploy if the swarms of rioters don't get out of that city and out of the way. National Guard troops are already on the ground after Trump called them in to restore the law and order, saying that the governor, Gavin Newsom, and the mayor, Karen Bass, failed to do that. Take a look at this video right now.
I think President Trump calling in the National Guard, I think it was a good idea because this is out of control and you want to get it before. You want to nip it in the bud. You want to send a message before it goes over into other cities and across the entire states across the country. You have to send a strong message. And I think that he learned his lesson from 2020 with the riots. He did take action, but at the same time, I don't think it was what people wanted to see. I think they want to see a bolder, swifter response within a couple of days like this. In 2020, he waited a week before he came out and publicly he had a press conference over it. I think it was at the Rose Garden, on the Rose Garden. It was about 8 minutes long or so, and Democrats were criticizing for that too, saying, "Where's the president? Why is he not coming out with this? Why is he not doing anything about the riots?" And then when he came out and spoke about it, he said he was going to send in the National Guard, the military, if the governors don't get control of their states. And they called him a dictator for saying that. And earlier that day, he had a phone call, a conference call with all the governors across the country, and said you're going to look like a bunch of jerks if you don't get control of your states. They're going to run you over. And then the Democrat governors came out and said he was talking to us like a dictator, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the guy can't win. So, and then he got things got under control. We had DC. There were troops in DC, and the governors did take action. They started calling up the National Guard. But then you also had the 10-year prison sentence for destroying monuments. But I think people wanted to see a little bit bolder action. The Insurrection Act within the first day or so of these riots. So, but his hands were somewhat tied. He had people pushing back against him, Milley and all those guys. So I mean, but he's the president. So I don't know. Yeah. Let's keep going here.
These are some of the images we're getting out of Los Angeles, and you can see the remnants of the burned cars and the chaos. All these people here, many of them with masks on, so it makes it hard for police to identify and track them down, torching cars, businesses, the Mexican flags in their hands. More new video into the live desk. Watch this one. A guy on a motorcycle, see him right here, plowing through the police line, running into cops there, hurting a couple of them. This guy was immediately taken into custody, and this is just one example of the chaos right there. Of total right now, nearly 60 people have been arrested. 56 is the official number. I would not be surprised if we see that number go up. That figure's likely to rise because local leaders are debating whether to implement a curfew if these demonstrators don't disperse right away.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. There's also been looting going on. Of course, you can't have riots without looting. You have a lot of unemployed people here breaking into stores. You're looking at a bunch of low-life loser bums. And this guy's like 50 years old, and he's going inside of a store to take what, some chips and a soda? How much of a loser do you have to be? I wonder how many of these guys have jobs. Man. Cigarettes or dip or whatever that is. You have this bum stealing a credit card machine. Going to sell it? What? I've seen enough of this nonsense. The video's almost over anyway. You know, if you want to be in Mexico so bad, why don't you, if you weren't with the flag around you, why don't you go back? But you don't want to go, you don't want to go there because you are right here in the United States of America. That's one thing I never understood. I never understood that nonsense. But Kamala Harris has finally responded to the riots. Here's what the failed presidential candidate had to say about it. Los Angeles is my home, and like so many Americans, I am appalled at what we are witnessing on the streets of our city. Deploying the National Guard is a dangerous escalation meant to provoke chaos, in addition to the recent ICE raids in Southern California and across our nation. It is part of the Trump administration's cruel, calculated agenda to spread panic and division. This administration's actions are not about public safety, they're about stoking fear. Fear of a community demanding dignity and due process. This due process thing is unbelievable. Due process. They let in 12 to 20 million people over the span of 4 years under her watch. The border czar. Not the real border czar, a real border czar, Tom Homan, but she was acting as a border czar. And that's her record, is letting in 12 million people to 20. I really hope it's not 20. I really hope it's a lot less than that. I hope it's 12 million, which is still crazy because that's 3 million people a year. But you didn't want due process of them coming in and getting them over here. But now that President Trump is working and Tom Homan are working together to get them out, you suddenly want due process. It makes no sense to me. Protest is a powerful tool, essential in the fight for justice, and as the LAPD mayor and governor have noted, demonstrations in defense of our immigrant neighbors have been overwhelmingly peaceful. Overwhelmingly peaceful. I have more to say about that. This woman here, I don't know who she is, but she was on CNN and she had this to say about the protests when they were in when they started in Paramount. Check it out.
I mean, you know, I know I don't really know how to react to this as a professional because it's sort of like, what? I mean, I'm not laughing. It's like
the riots in Paramount, I should say.
Active duty Marines for this. I mean, we were just reporting on it. There's music, the traffic is moving. Most people in LA probably don't even know that this is going on. It's such a big city. And we need an administration that's not going to get to DEFCON 1 every time they see something on TV they don't like. Secretary Hegseth has a tremendous amount of power. And to tweet that out with what we're seeing, active military is a statement, but let's just put it this way.
So it's just a small amount of chaos concentrated in a little part of the city. It's not widespread. We're going to call National Guard for this? I mean, yes, we call National Guard for this. This is like somebody said in the comments here. Okay, so 9/11 was just a couple of buildings, a very small percentage of the population got killed in 9/11. That's essentially what you're saying is like it's just like with the TD at Trinidad Agua taking over just a few apartment complexes in Aurora. Not really widespread, just a few apartment complexes. So at what point is enough? At what point, how far does it have to get out of control for the National Guard to be called up or bold action to be taken? Is it the entire city of LA? Is it when it spreads to San Diego or San Francisco, or it goes over to Arizona? At what point is enough? So do you just let it, okay, just a few blocks of chaos, small city or a small section of LA is out of control, but don't worry about that. It's not warranted.
It's not an operational statement. This is not a statement about what's on the ground. This is a statement about power and the use of force and the use of military in a democracy. I'll let others debate that, but no rational person in my field in Homeland Security would see what we're seeing and think that we're even close to the kind of behavior that Secretary Hegseth is now threatening against a civilian society for protest and some unrest. I'm going to give them that. There is some unrest. And so, again, the White House is just lowering the standards for the use of Title X National Guard under what we call federalization. And now in the last 10 or 15 minutes, Secretary Hegseth, I guess, wanted to join the club. But active Marines, that's just unheard of.
So this is before it spread to downtown LA and City Hall, all of that. So what's her opinion on this now? Is now a good time? So was it warranted? I don't know. These people are nuts, man. These people are crazy. I don't know. But I'm going to leave that right there. I wanted to share that with you, these videos and what's been going on in Los Angeles. I know you've been seeing it across different news outlets, different content creators, but actually I want to see who ICE arrested. I mean, look, you're seeing, oh wow, ICE protests breaking out at soccer games. Oh, there's a video too of, what's her name? Crazy lady, Maxine Waters, getting the door slammed in her face by an agent. That was pretty funny. But I want to see exactly who ICE arrested here. Let's take a look. Oh, I know Tom Homan touched on that, but I want to check it out. If I can find it for you. It's going to take me a while, so maybe I'll post it on my social media. I did see an article about this. They arrested 150 people. I know, like I said, Tom Homan. Oh, here it goes. ICE arrests include illegal aliens convicted of murder, sex offenders, and other violent criminals. ICE arrests illegal immigration as a part of an operation in Los Angeles and include individuals with heavy criminal histories, which include murder and sexual assault. The Department of Homeland Security highlighted the reality of the criminal illegal aliens they are going after in Los Angeles, while Mexican flag riots break out in protest of ICE actions. So let's go to the individuals. One of the individuals is an illegal alien named Leonel Sanchez Laguna, hailing from Mexico. According to DHS, his lengthy criminal history includes discharging a firearm at an inhabited dwelling and vehicle in Orange, California, with a sentence of 365 days in jail, battery on a spouse or cohabitant in Orange, California, with a sentence of 4 years of probation, willful cruelty to a child in Orange, driving under the influence, sentence of 10 days in jail, assault with a semi-automatic firearm, personal use of a firearm. Oh my gosh. Another one, Armando Ordaz, another illegal immigrant, 44 years old, arrested from Mexico. His criminal history includes sexual battery in Los Angeles, where rioters are protesting such arrests, as well as petty theft and receiving known or stolen property. 38-year-old illegal immigrant from Francisco Sanchez Arguello is among illegal aliens hailing from Mexico whom ICE arrested. His criminal history includes grand theft, larceny, and possession of a prohibited weapon, according to ICE, to DHS. Victor Mendoza Aguilar, 32 years old, is another one hailing from Mexico. His history includes possessing unlawful paraphernalia in Pasadena with a sentence of 112 days in jail, possessing controlled substances with a sentence of 16 months in jail. Now they'll come out and say, well, that's nothing. They're arresting for just a little bit of paraphernalia. Assault with a deadly weapon, not firearm in Pasadena. Okay, it's not a firearm. With a sentence of 4 years in prison, obstructing a public officer, and the list goes on and on. The list just goes on. Another one is a 51-year-old man from Mexico, has a criminal history with assault with a deadly weapon with great bodily injury in Los Angeles. I mean, I can keep going. This is long. I mean, I'm just going to read some more of this. Another, Jesus Alan Hernandez Morales from Mexico. Conspiracy to transport an illegal alien in Las Cruces, New Mexico, with a sentence of 239 days in jail. It does not end there. DHS also highlighted several non-Mexican illegal immigrants arrested in the operations. Perhaps one of the most notorious is 49-year-old Kong Chun Phan from Vietnam. Maybe I said that correctly, I don't know. The gang-affiliated member has a conviction for second-degree murder, and DHS highlighted some of the atrocities of his past. According to local reports in 1994, Phan and his gang member associates were asked to leave a high school graduation party following a dispute. They returned with semi-automatic weapons and fired shots at 30 partygoers. Dennis Bond, 18 of South Pasadena, and David Hung, 15 of San Marino, California, were killed and 7 others were wounded. Oh, man. ICE also arrested 55-year-old Rolando Enriquez, an illegal immigrant from the Philippines. Criminal history includes burglary as well as sexual penetration with a foreign object. Oh my gosh, and force and assault with intent to commit rape. Wow. Let me read that again. Mentally to myself. That's crazy. So these are the people that were arrested and that they're riding over. 42-year-old illegal immigrant from Ecuador. His criminal history includes conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute 5 kilograms or more of cocaine while on board a vessel in Tampa, Florida. Okay, this list is long. This list goes on and on. And here's a lovely photo right here of Mexican flags in front of Dale's Donuts with cars set on fire. Get these people out of here. Send these people to jail. If they're illegal, get them out of the country. This is who Newsom is fighting for, according to Breitbart. This is what Breitbart News says. Yeah, this is what he's fighting for. You saw the list. You heard the list I just named. I went down a list of a bunch of people in the country illegally who committed some very terrible crimes. I mean, this is what they're protesting and rioting over? I don't know. We'll see what happens in days ahead, but I just wanted to share that with you. Like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Take care.